Hi everybody and welcome to an Age of Fantasy battle report. The Necromancer is unaware that the allies of Teniras secretly have found a way into his castle and are plotting an assassination mission to end this war once and for all. Until then, the undead troops continue to flood Teniras and all living creatures gather to fight and stand their ground. On an open field far away from the Necromancer's castle, a tribe of goblins have gathered to slow down the march of the dead. They have little hope to accomplish this, but they'll fight nonetheless. As the dead is about to attack, the sound of thundering wild boar hooves can be heard. A patrol of orc wild boar riders are attracted by the smell of battle, and they will aid the goblins against the undead. The undead army is led by an ancient wraith armed with great weapon. He has 2 units of ghost reapers armed with scythes, and one of them with death bell. Then we have a unit of mourner banshees. They are armed with hand weapons and shrieks, and they are also chilling. Then a ghost swarm with swarm attacks, and finally a unit of glaive stalkers. They are fast and they are armed with glaives. All the undead are undead and ethereal. The goblins line up on the opposite side of the battlefield. They are led by a goblin leader armed with great weapon, and he is a level 2 Shaman caster. He has 3 units of goblin warriors, with 10 goblins armed with spears with the counter ability. Then he has 2 units of shooters with 5 goblins armed with hand weapons and short bows. All the goblins are fearless. And then we have a unit of orc boar riders. They are fast, furious, and they have impact lances. Here we have a top view of the battlefield. There are 3 skull objectives along the river. Each objective will earn 1 victory point to whoever controls it at the end of round 4. And besides the skull objectives, each side also have 2 side missions. Both of them have Headhunter, and the undead have Terrify, and the goblins have Defend. They will also each be worth 1 victory point. But let's roll off. And the black dice will win, and that means the undead will have the first activation of round 1. First thing to happen is that the goblin leader will get 2 magic tokens he can spend in this round. And then the undead will try to eliminate as many goblins as possible. First unit to activate is the unit of glaive stalkers. They are fast, so they can rush 16 inches and cross the river. The nearest unit of goblin shooters will move out of their cover and line up to take a shot. 5 bow shots, and they hit on rolls of 5 against the glaive stalkers, and we have a few hits. So the undead typically have a very bad defense, but they can avoid wounds. 1 defend roll of 6 is good. 2 hits, but if they roll 5 or 6, they will ignore the hits. And one of them will do that. So 1 glaive stalker is pierced by goblin arrows. Next up, the mourner banshees. And the undead as well as the goblins have to cross the river, where there is a bridge, like here, or low water. So the river cannot be crossed everywhere. And the mourner banshees here will use the bridge. The first unit of goblin warriors will rush into a defensive position. They have the counter ability, and that means even if they are charged, they will attack first. And on the upper part of the battlefield, the unit of ghost reapers will also rush forward. They cannot reach any of the goblin units, and they have no long-range weapons, but they can take position very close to the objective. But here they are within charge range of this unit of goblin warriors. So 10 goblins will cross the river here at the edge of the battlefield, and they will charge into the Gravestalkers. 10 spear attacks hitting on 5s. And not one single hit. Nothing. Very, very bad. And the Ghost Reapers will fight back. They have 5 attacks and they hit on 4s. So they hit a lot better. 4 hits, and they have the Reap ability. So if the Goblins roll a 1 when they try to defend, they will take an additional wound. They need 6s to block in the first place. So let's see what they can do. They can do absolutely nothing. They fail 4 defense rolls, but with 1 roll of 1, they will take an additional wound. 5 goblins will be killed. So the remaining must take a morale test, and they pass. They are goblins from the Wolf clan, so they are fearless, but with a quality of 5, they are just fine. 5 goblins left though. A failed charge, but they move back, and by doing so, they take the objective. Next up, the second unit of Ghost Reapers, and they immediately rush towards the first objective. The Goblin archers, hidden in the ruined building, move forward. They advance 6 inches, and that takes them into firing range of the Mourner Banshees. They will hit on 5s, 2 hits, and the Mourner Banshees must roll 6s. And they do not, but they have a chance of ignoring the wounds because of the ethereal ability, and one of them will survive, and 1 Mourner Banshee is perished. The Ghost Swarms move. There are actually 3 Ghost Swarms, each with a tough value of 3, but they are symbolized with 9 models on the battlefield. And they move towards the objective. The goblins can very soon be pushed back, but now the goblin leader will take matters into his own hands. He will move first, and then he will try a spell. He will cast the spell Nuisance on the 2 nearest units, and if he is successful, the spell will cost him 2 points, and he needs a 4. The 2 units will have +1 defense next time they are attacked, and he is successful. The spell is effective, and will just mark the units with a spell token. Finally, the Ancient Wraith will move closer to the river. He cannot be reached here at this point of the river, but he is closer to the action. But we still have several goblin units left to activate. And the Orc Boar Riders will charge into action. They are fast, so they can charge 16 inches, and they can reach the Gravestalkers with a devastating charge. They have 5 lance attacks, but they are furious, so if they roll 6s, they will have an additional hit. They hit on 5s, so it will be just 1 hit. But then they have 5 impact hits, and they will hit on a 2. And that looks a lot better. So in the end, their lances will hit 6 times against the Gravestalkers, and they must roll 6s to defend. 2 out of the 6 hits will be blocked. That leaves 4. And they have a chance to ignore them on a roll of 5 or 6. So let's see if they can shake off any of the hits. They can. 2 of them are ignored. So in the end, 2 Gravestalkers will be taken down. That takes the unit below half strength. They still have a chance to fight back. 2 attacks with glaives, then they need 5s to hit, so there will be no hits, and the Gravestalkers will lose the battle. They will have to take an undead morale check, and that means if they roll 1, 2, or 3, they will take a wound that cannot be regenerated. And there is one of them that will leave, turn into dust. A single Gravestalker remains. And last unit to activate in the first round will be the final unit of Goblin Warriors. They rush forward and take defensive positions, trying to block the way to their leader. And that completes the first brutal round of combat between the ghostly undead hordes and the goblins. So the forces control 1 objective each at the moment. None of the side missions are completed. Losses on both sides. And the Undead will activate first in the next round because they finished this one first. Let's go to round 2. In the beginning of the second round, the Goblin leader will once again receive 2 magic tokens, but the Undead will activate first, and the Reapers here will charge. The 5 remaining Goblins go for the objective and try to eliminate the Goblin unit, but the Goblins will counter them and attack first. 5 spear attacks, and they will hit on 5s. And they will hit with only one of the spears. So a 6 is needed for defense, and they will defend the single spear hit. So all 5 Ghost Reapers will now charge, and they will need 4s to hit. Ooh, and that looks really, really bad for the Goblins. 4 hits. They need 6s to defend, but if they roll 1s, they will take an additional wound, and they do. They will be completely wiped out and destroyed by the Ghost Reapers. All 5 Goblins will be defeated, and they will take the objective. Great start for the Undead here in the second round. Bad for the Goblins. The Ghost Reapers have opened a passage north of the river, and that must be closed down. So the unit of Orc Boar riders will charge in for the attack. They ride in with 5 furious lance attacks hitting on 5s. Rolls of 6 will give them an additional hit, and that does not happen, only 1 hit, but then they have their impact hits. They will hit on 2, and in the end it's a total of 6 hits. They need 6s to defend, and 1 out of the 6 hits will be blocked. So that leaves 5, but they have a chance to ignore the hits, and they will do so with 1 of them only. So 4 Ghost Reapers will go down, leaving only 1 behind. He will have a chance to fight back, but he will lose the battle anyway. Let's see if he can take anyone with him. He needs a 4, so he will not hit, and now he has to pass an Undead morale check. A roll of 1, 2, or 3 will give him a wound, and he is dead again. The Boar Riders effectively banished the Ghost Reapers and reclaimed the objective. Now what? The second unit of Ghost Reapers will activate. They will also cross the river down to the south and charge the Goblins. And once again the Goblins will counter and attack first. And they need 5s. And they do a lot better. So 4 hits against the Undead. And again they will have to roll 6 to block. And 1 of the hits will be blocked. That leaves 3. And again they can ignore them, and they will ignore 2 of them. Only 1 hit out of the 10 possible. So 1 Ghost Reaper will go down in the charge. The 4 remaining will now continue. They need 4s, and they will swing 3 scythes and 1 death bell. 2 regular scythe hits. So the Goblins must roll 6s and avoid 1. So 1 of the attacks here will be blocked. Only 1 Goblin will go down. This battle ends in a tie, and the Reapers will back off. The third and final Goblin warrior unit will close and block the bridge, so they charge against the Mourner Banshees. And they are also armed with spears, so 10 spear attacks, and only rolls of 6 will count, because the Mourner Banshees are chilling, and that gives them a -1 in melee. So instead of 5s, they need 6s, but there are 3 rolls of 6, and all 3 hits will not be blocked by the Banshees, but again, they can ignore them, and they will ignore 1 of them. 2 Banshees will go away. The 2 remaining will attack back with their hand weapons. They need 4s. And they will fail. So they will lose this battle. They will have to pass morale tests. And one of them fails, so another Banshee will disappear, only one left. Now the Ghost Swarms will charge the Boar Riders. There are 3 Ghost Swarms and each of them have 3 attacks. So 9 attacks, hitting on a roll of 4 against the Boar Riders. And there are hits. 4 hits must be blocked, and they have a rather weak defense of 5. Let's see what they can do. Not good. 3 Boar Riders will be killed, and the remaining will not hit anything, but they will pass their morale test and still be in the battle. These Ghost Swarms can prove to be difficult to stop for the Goblins, but they also have a Glaive Stalker to worry about. The unit of shooters will advance slightly back and aim at the Glaive Stalker with their bows. 1 hit only. The Glaive Stalker needs a 6, and he gets just that. No arrows will hit. And now he has taken fire. He will charge back and see what kind of damage he can do. He has a regular attack and an impact attack. Only the impact will hit. But 1 Goblin must block with a roll of 6. And, well, there we go. A 5, it's not enough. 1 Goblin goes down. But they can fight back. And they have 4 hand weapon attacks. And there will be 2 hits. So maybe they can take the Glaive Stalker down after all. He will fail his defense rolls, and he will ignore none of the hits. So he sealed his own fate by charging this Goblin shooter unit. The 1 remaining Banshee will leave the Goblin warriors alone and instead advance and make a shriek attack against the Goblin leader. They have a side mission to take down the leader, but she fails the shriek and the Goblin leader is unharmed. The 2nd Goblin shooter unit will advance, so they are within 12 inches of the Ghost Reapers, so they will not have their stealth ability, and they will take aim, or more likely they will not take aim because they will fail all 5 shots. Pathetic. And the Ancient Wraith will now move north up the river and join the Ghost Swarms. The Goblin leader can save his magic tokens for the next round, but he can also attempt a spell right now, and he will do so. He will cast Death Shroud at the Ghost Swarms, and he will need a 4, and it's good. Once again, he will cast the spell at a cost of 2 magic tokens. The Death Shroud will deal 4 hits against the Ghost Swarm, but they will defend 2 of them. The other 2 will hit, and they will not ignore them. 2 ghosts are eliminated. Finally, the Goblin Spearmen warriors will charge and attack the Ghost Reapers. They have already fought this round, so they are all fatigued, but they will fight anyway. They will need 6s to hit anything, and only 1 hit. And the Ghost Reapers, of course, must try to block that hit. They won't, and they will also fail to ignore the wound, so 1 Ghost Reaper is pierced by the spear. Now they can fight back as well, and they also need 6s, of course. This is the 2nd time these 2 forces clash this round, but the Ghost Reapers will not hit, so they will lose the battle. They will face morale test against the Goblins, and 1 more Ghost Reaper will leave. The 2nd round is over. Fighting all over the Goblin Valley. The middle objective is not contested by anyone yet, and the forces now hold 1 objective each. Let's go to the 3rd round. 2 new magic tokens to the Goblin leader, but the Undead will activate first again, and the Ancient Wraith this time will cross the river, charge 12 inches, and go straight for the head of the snake. He will attack the Goblin leader with 3 attacks, and he will hit on 3s, so 2 hits. And he also has the Reap ability, so the Goblin leader must avoid to roll 1s, and he does that, but he also fails both his defense rolls, so he takes 2 wounds. He's still standing, and he can fight back with his great weapon. Let's see if he can hit the Ancient Wraith. 3 attacks. And so far no hits. We'll re-roll that one, and he will hit nothing. Wounded by the Wraith, but still standing. So the Wraith will back off 1 inch. But the Goblin leader must face a morale test. He lost the battle, and he fails his morale test. He is fearless, so he has a second chance. He must roll a 4, and he is good. The fearless Wolf Clan leader is still in the game. The remaining Orc Boar riders will try to avenge their fallen brothers, so they charge into the Ghost Swarm. And we have 1 hit, but they are furious, so that will be 2, and they also hit with 2 impact hits. A total of 4 hits the Ghost Swarms will have to deal with. And they have a defense of 6. Typical Undead defense roll, and they failed them all. They have a chance to ignore them, and if they ignore all the wounds. No wounds at all. That looks really bad for the Boar Riders. Now they fight back, and there are several hits. 5 hits back against the Boar Riders, and they will have a really hard time defending all of those hits. They have a defense of 5. So let's see. And they block 3 of them, but unfortunately that will not do any difference. The Boar Riders have been defeated. But the Ghost Swarms are not finished yet. They charge across the river, and luckily for the Goblin leader, the archers stand between the Ghost Swarms and himself. But the ghosts will attack the archers, and they need 6s because they are fatigued, tired ghosts. They hit anyway with 3 hits, and there is no defense at all. So 3 archers are immediately killed, and the remaining archer fights back now, and he hits nothing. So he will face a morale test, and he fails. He's also fearless, and he makes the second attempt. He stands still between the ghosts and his leader. It's time for another fight between the Goblin warriors and the Ghost Reapers south of the river. And let's see if they can do better this time. Again, they need 5s or 6s, and again, they only hit once. But still, the Ghost Reapers will fail to block and also fail to ignore the wound. 1 more Ghost Reaper leaves. And that means only 1 left, and he will hit. So the Goblins must block now, and they do block the attack. The Ghost Reaper will lose the battle, so an Undead morale test, and he will pass. So, again, none of the forces managed to eliminate the other. The ethereal Mourner Banshee has Strider, so she can easily fly over obstacles and reach the Goblin leader. He only has 1 wound left, but the Mourner Banshee will fail the attack. The Ghost leader will turn and attack back. He has fought before, so he will need 6s. And there is a roll of 6 hiding between the ghosts, so he will hit once. And the Mourner Banshee will not defend. Can she ignore the wound? No, she can't. A failed charge and attack. The Goblin leader defeats the Mourner Banshee. The remaining Ghost Reaper with the Death Bell has had enough of the Goblins, so he draws back and secures the objective. And the remaining Goblin Archer will cross the river here at the north section. Maybe he goes for the objective as well. The Goblin leader has already fought twice this round, but he still has his activation and he falls back and he fires a magic spell at the Ancient Wraith. He will attempt to cast the spell Glare. It will cost him 1 magic token and he will spend the other to increase his chance. He only needs a roll of 3. And if he's successful, the Ancient Wraith will be hit with a deadly hit. And he is once again right on target with his magic. The Ancient Wraith must defend a deadly hit. And he will not block the hit, so now he faces 3 hits. And he ignores none of the deadly hits. With his magic, the Goblin leader eliminates the Ancient Wraith, and he will score the Headhunter side mission. Great move. And at the same time, the archers fire arrows at the Ghost Reaper. 3 of them will hit, and he will fail 2 defense rolls. He ignores 1 of the hits, but not the final one. So at last, the final Ghost Reaper is eliminated. The Goblins at the bridge, they will pass the objective. They will instead charge the Ghost Swarm. So they attack the ghosts, and they hit with not much. 2 hits, and let's see how the ghosts will defend. They will block none of the hits, but they can still ignore them, and they won't, so 2 more wounds to a Ghost Swarm. And that eliminates at least 1 of the Ghost Swarms. Instead of 9, they will now have 6 attacks when they fight back. They have already fought the Goblin Archers, so they must roll 6s, and they will hit nothing. So they will lose the battle. And they will face morale tests. Rolls of 1, 2, or 3, and further ghosts will leave this battle, and there will be 2 more ghosts out. That was a decisive round, a tough round for the Undead. They lost their leader, the Goblins scored the Headhunter side mission, and they look good also closing in on the objectives. We still have the 4th and final round. There are simply not undead forces enough left to win this battle, but they can still score some points. The remaining 1 Ghost Swarm will attack the Goblin leader. They have 3 attacks left, and they hit on 4s. And there are 2 hits. He's already hit twice, so he has only 1 wound remaining. He will have to block these hits, and he needs 5s. And he does not block any of the hits. The Goblin leader will fall, and the ghosts will score the Headhunter side mission as well. Furious with the loss of their brave leader, the Goblins will chase down the remaining Ghost Swarm, and they will pierce them with their spears. 5 or 6, and there are 5 hits coming in. The Ghost Swarm must block the hits with a roll of 6. And that could be the end. They will block 1 hit, and that still leaves 4, but as usual, they have a chance of ignoring them. And they will ignore 3 of them, so 1 hit in the end, and the final Ghost Swarm takes 1 wound, 2 remaining. so they can fight back now. And they even have a chance of winning this battle. They will hit with one of their attacks they have fought before, and one goblin will fail to defend, and that will equal the losses on both sides, so this battle is a tie. The loss of their leader is definitely hard for the goblins, but they still have a mission, so this goblin unit will take the objective. And the lonely goblin archer will do the same. The south and the north objectives are now under goblin control. The final unit of archers could take the third and final objective, but they thirst for revenge and they shoot at the ghost swarm, and this time, for once, they hit. 4 hits against the ghosts, a rain of arrows, and they will fail all 4 defense rolls, and they will ignore 2, but that's not enough. The goblin archers have avenged their fallen leader, and the ghosts are no more. All the goblins gather around their fallen leader. He gave his life to defend the Goblin Valley and to stop the march of the dead. His next in command will step up. First, we mourn, and then we celebrate. The Goblin Valley is secured. A glorious victory with 2 victory points for the objectives and both side missions completed. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. And I hope you'll join me for future bad rips.